This is Popping the Bubble with hosts Sandra Ponce de Leon and Pete A. Turner.
I'm Crystal Rose.
And I'm Ariel Jalali.
And we are from SenSay. You're listening to Popping the Bubble.
There it is. Live from Santa Monica, where the weather is perfect. 76 degrees, sunny and lovely. We have Sandra via remote on Skype, not a sponsor. And she's going to jump in with us. Thank you very much for having us. It's always a pleasure to be able to do these things from your guys' dojo. I love it. We're here talking with Crystal and Ariel from SenSay. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
One of the things I was going to do, and Ariel, since we just had you jump in, I want to have you guys just quickly hit your highlights from where you've been. We want to spend more time talking about where we're going. So just hit us with a couple of things so everybody can kind of know where you're at, how to find you on social, and then we'll go forward from there. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Okay. Go ahead, Ariel. Give us your background real quick.
I'm Ariel. I have been in the LA tech industry for over 15 years now. I've worked on, built, and sold high-value information-based businesses. It's always been a passion of mine, and so this is the latest in a series of those things.
And Crystal.
I've also been building in LA for quite a long time. I've been in technology my whole life. When I was young, I learned how to code, so that was my sort of passion, getting into everything. I'm now on my third company and the most valuable one. I think SenSay has the potential to really radically transform the way that we communicate and the way that humans connect. And this is, for me, the passion of my life.
I love it.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your journey to get to SenSay. What prompted the idea? How did you come up with it's human-based chat and bots, right?
Yeah. So SenSay is a platform that allows you to connect via any messenger to the human that you need right now. So Ariel and I both built companies in technology. Ariel was building search engines and I was building social media platforms, and we were both approaching the same problem. And fundamentally, the problem is that humans have a lot of needs and we have the tools to connect to each other, but it's very difficult for us to use things like Twitter to find relevancy. So when I built a platform, the goal was when every user was putting all of their needs and wants and desires out on Twitter and kind of everything about their lives, it would pick up, there was a tool that was a combination of humans and automation to pick up on these needs. And if you said, I really need to be caffeinated right now, for instance, it would find where you are and then target you with a business to connect you. I approached it sort of the wrong way. I was approaching it for businesses. I was trying to find relevancy for humans who needed someone to talk and using a business perspective. And so I think, now we're still looking at the same problem where when you need something and you go to Google, you get 1 billion results. And Ariel had approached it from the other side on building out search engines. You're still not really getting exactly what you need. Mostly the thing that we need is a human conversation. So that's our thesis.
And how does SenSay provide that?
So with SenSay, you can connect. Basically, SenSay is like a contact that represents millions of people. So SenSay is added into your messenger or added into even your text as a contact. You reach out and tell SenSay exactly what you need. Then SenSay finds a human and puts you in an anonymous conversation with that person instantly. So this would be, you could ask SenSay for anything, and maybe it's something nuanced like relationship advice, or something really specific, like what was it like to go to Bali, and you get to connect with somebody who's been there?
I actually onboarded my tour guide in a rice paddy about 15 feet from where he was born.
Wow.
He asked me what I was doing. They're very friendly over there. And I told him, and he pulled out his messenger, and we're like knee deep in water. And he's like, wait, I can talk to anyone? I'm like, yeah, you can. He's like, I can practice my English? I said, yes, you can. He's like, I can maybe get new people for my tour? I'm like, yes, you can. And he was there's certain moments like that we've had in this journey that have just been magical. So,
what are some of the surprises that you guys have found besides that, where you're just like, I'd never even thought about this. This is great.
Well, we hired one of our team members who actually works here on SenSay. That was kind of a revelation that people would want to unlock like real opportunities on the platform. We see lots and lots of different conversations. It's a sliding scale from casual to they're human, so there are twists and turns in those conversations. Very early in the game, we learned that we weren't really in the static answer business. So as an example, if you asked me, hey, where should I eat in Santa Monica? And I said, Tender Greens. and that's all I said. Versus if I had a whole, I asked you about your life.
Sure. Are you a vegan? Do you paleo? What,
These are human conversations.
Right.
So we learned that we were really in the optionality business, not the answers business.
Optionality.
Yeah.
I like it. Option reality too, I suppose.
Exactly.
So when you go out to SenSay and you ask for something that's very contextualized and potentially even dangerous, probably the wrong word, but something like dating advice. I mean, you can get dating advice wrong if you don't have the context and everything. How does that conversation evolve between two total strangers where you have something very private, like I secretly like, whatever? How are people able to deal with that?
Those are the best conversations, the ones that are difficult for you to post to your social network. It's hard for you to post, I like someone, or, I need some advice on getting a divorce to Facebook. And those conversations have surprised us because people are really open. The anonymity is a part of the platform, and it facilitates a little more openness. I think we've been really surprised in seeing how people have used SenSay. At the very beginning, we thought it would be a lot more sort of advice-driven things around things like restaurants and, basic things. But it's really deep. People get very emotional and they really do open up those like very deep inner parts of themselves. I think that's the human connection part that's really important.
One of the things, I used to do a lot of work with Secret. And one of the problems that they had was that everything was so secret, you could be as nasty as you wanted to be with no repercussions. What have you guys done to kind of counteract that? Because that's an important aspect, because you can't just be a dick to people all the time.
Yeah, I think half of it is in the format,
okay.
And the other half is in the ethos of the product. The format is very important. So one thing that we learned in school about bullying is that you can have a perfectly civil conversation with the bully one-on-one. It's when the peanut galleries is introduced that you have problems, right? So we have a one-on-one format. We built it to feel as natural as texting your friend. And your friend doesn't really troll you one-on-one. So that takes a lot of fuel out of the fire to begin with. And then as Crystal mentioned, we, in the ethos of the product, this is for your knowledge and your life experience. And we have a double-sided rating that keeps that kosher. And we do a lot of learning as it goes along. Like we try to figure out a priori who would be good conversational partners. Mm-hmm. We crunch lots and lots of data to make that happen. But there's a random human element, right? That's the wonderful part of it. You could catch your friend on a weird day, or you could catch your friend on a great day. But most of the time, it's very positive.
How do you get to participate in the platform? How do you become someone that answers questions and doles out this advice? And what's the benefit for someone in that role?
Everyone is a SenSay. So as soon as you connect to SenSay, it will ask you what tribes you belong to and a little bit about what knowledge you have or want to share, things you're good at, things that you would be happy to talk about. And it's a really simple couple of questions that SenSay asks you up front, and then relies on the conversations that you have. So the part that we do a lot of machine learning and analysis is around the conversations you're currently having, learning about you and learning about your conversation style, and then we'll start to send you inbound requests. So it might come to you and say, I need some advice on launching a podcast. Mm-hmm. And then we've found out that you're the right person for that. If you choose to take that chat and you have a good experience and the person rates you highly, then we'll give you more chats like that. And if you choose to tell SenSay pass, I'm not interested, we won't send anything like that again.
Got it. Very cool. It kind of feels like you're delivering on the sentence, the world is your oyster, because you're able to really connect with anyone you need at any time that you want, which is really cool.
That's it. That's the goal for us. Really, it's about, we're walking around now 3.5 billion smartphones. That's half of the amount of humans that we have. That's, right. Meaning it really should be easy to connect with literally everyone. But our social networks are really limited. We have this idea that we're connected socially, and actually the average person has about 650 friends. And so those social connections are pretty limited if you really look at it. And then they're limited by the people we know who may or may not be the best at something. So we have to think about who we know that knows something, or put it publicly out there on Facebook or Twitter and let everybody know that we're in need of some kind of help, and randomly hopefully get connected. So we're by relying on the social network, we've limited ourselves, and we've been given this promise of connectivity that is sort of not there. So we think that the future is the knowledge graph rather than the social graph, connecting to people directly based on what they know and what their life experiences are.
That's interesting. We've actually talked with a lot of guests about this, and there's everything from the interest graph to the social graph. So it's interesting that you guys are now talking about the knowledge graph, which is not just knowledge, but also contextual in terms of intent and time and place and kind of what you need when you need it.
Yep, the overall human network.
Mm-hmm.
When you are looking at trying to figure out if a person's capabilities are there, what's the process like? How do you understand that Pete knows about podcasting? How do you guys get to that point?
So it's important to know what our service level agreement is or promises to the user. Our agreement is to get you into closest proximity with the most knowledgeable person who is most likely in space-time to be helpful to you and provide good optionality. So with that in mind, that's our target that we hit. So there are a few ways that you can tell the platform what you know. You can overtly tell us. There's SenSay Bot sometimes pops up and becomes very curious about your life and your life experiences. You can also conversationally, through the course of having your chats. We're proud to say that we currently have the biggest repository of human-to-human conversations where the humans a priori had no context or no connection to each other. That's hugely important because most of the data sets that are out there are either bot to human or human to human where you have friendship in between. So there are whole missing libraries of, Sandra talked about context. If you and I have gone on a road trip together, there's that inside joke that'll never get indexed in the conversation. So we have the luxury of building this incredible data source and then crunching it to figure out who knows what. But really the goal is to put you in proximity of a helpful human.
Let me be the dumb guy in the room and try to capture what you just said, because there was a lot in there. So you're saying that in social groups, there's a lot of people focused on things that link either bots to people or people that are known in some way to one another through some sort of contextual. It may even be distant, but there's some kind of pivot there that allows them to connect.
Right.
You guys have the largest repository of fresh, unique, person-to-person interactions.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to sit back and do nothing the rest of the show now.
Right. It really seems like you can leverage SenSay for so much. I mean, how do you leverage it? I mean, I'm just thinking about applying it to my work day to day, getting the hints, the clues that I need throughout the day to, solve those problems that I'm looking at resolving, in that moment. So it seems like you could almost have an ongoing conversation with anyone on SenSay and really get help achieving really anything that you need.
It's exactly that. Our goal is that you can go into a messenger and have no one in your contact list but SenSay, and SenSay will get you to every human that you need. So, if you're a freelancer and you're working from home and you have Slack and maybe you have one other team member or two other people that you work with on a freelance basis and you have SenSay in Slack, SenSay can be that resource for you where you can ask for research reports or, marketing data or even just what's the best, tool that I should use for my website. That's really the big goal, is that access, instant access, as if you had an entire team sitting with you.
And actually, maybe a story here might be helpful to illustrate. We're just starting to capture these stories in a blog that we call Awesome Humans, because everything in SenSay is private, but people reach out to us and say, "Oh my God, we've had these amazing experiences." One of our users told us that he built his entire business using SenSay through a series of conversations. So, his first conversation was about some product aspect. Then the second conversation was how to find a technical team to build it. And at every little step of the way, he was using SenSay as sort of like this virtual team to get his task accomplished. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was an amazing story because he was a psychologist and was considering getting into tech. And so he used SenSay to say, what is the startup world like? And all of these different questions. And having a conversation with him, it was intimidating for him to reach out to his own network, and he had no idea who to reach out to that was not in his network, or, jump into going to a random meetup or event. It does seem a little intimidating when Silicon Beach events or something that, seem daunting, similar to Silicon Valley. He was comfortable using SenSay to reach out to real people who then said, oh, go to this panel discussion that's happening, down the street, and made him more comfortable getting into it. He ended up finding his whole team that way as well, just getting these clues and hints. And I think Sandra hit it perfectly. It's all about these little clues throughout the day and tips that a person can provide to you that are really just hard to find other places.
That's amazing. One of the things I read that you spoke about was the future of work being decentralized. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so decentralization is a huge topic that I think is going to be, that word is going to be surfacing for people in a really big way in the coming, couple of years. So right now, not to go too deep into history, but the Industrial Revolution was the core reason why the world went from a world of humans who are entrepreneurs into a world of humans who have jobs. We've only had the notion of jobs for about 200 years, actually. And people have this idea, that they get into a company structure and they work a regular job. And what we have now is we have access. We have access to everything via digital connection. We have the ability to take our work life, and rather than be centralized around a geographical location, which is what the factory did, and the factory even spawned a network of urban housing and made everything really condensed into one place. We have this ability now that we have global connectivity to work from anywhere. And we have the luxury of having most of the tasks, that were previously brought through the Industrial Revolution now being done by robots. And so we're getting to a point where humans can do higher-minded things. And we have this really unique opportunity where with the sharing economy came this an idea that everyone can be a freelancer of sorts. Everyone can own their own jobs, figure out when they want to work, how they want to work. My last Uber driver actually had a conversation with him. He was an engineer. He had worked at IBM. He had worked on all these really impressive companies as a technical engineer who is now driving an Uber. And he said, I'm driving the Uber and I take contract work from a couple of companies like Dell, and I also fix cell phones. So I work at a place that, it has an app that somebody can get their phone fixed. I'd go within a 10-mile radius and I fix the phones. So he's doing these 3 different odd jobs. And if you looked at his life and you thought, oh, this guy is just an Uber driver, actually he's making more money than he would have by going 9 to 5, sitting every day. And he said, I lost 2 hours of my life every day commuting. So he has decentralized his job. Now, if he were to also sit on SenSay or allow SenSay conversations to come in and during his free time, take SenSay conversations and tell people what it's like, to drive around LA City, where to go, or maybe he's helping them fix their phone through SenSay as another form of additional potential income. If he were to earn on SenSay, that would be another way. So that's, the future of work, I think, is decentralized in the sense that it's more efficient for the human and for the company to work independently. And we say every human is an enterprise. Every person is a business.
The artist formerly known as work is now really purpose, because we will have robots taking care of these things. Like the Uber driver that brought me here this morning will not have a job in 3 to 5 years. Right. Because anyone that's moving anything from point A to point B is going to be automated out of that. So the purpose itself is under question and under attack. Simultaneously, our relationship with assets and ownership has fundamentally changed. So as an example, if you think about 33% of millennials living at home, it's no longer the American dream that's possible for them to own a house. They don't have the capital structure to do that. And so when access to assets becomes more important than ownership of assets, one wonders, at the end of the day, who owns the big assets, right? So if housing and transportation are these sort of subscription grids that we just participate in for access, at the end of the day, if you hit the fast forward button on what's going to happen, you're only going to own one asset, and that's you. and you're going to have to invest in it through lifelong learning, and you're going to have to figure out your contextual purpose, perhaps quarterly. And so we feel that SenSay plays a large role in that.
That's a big social. Boy, that's a lot. That's a lot of things going on there. So let's look at the standard person who is, let's just put them in the Midwest, and they aren't aware of what we are here in California, where not only is the 405 going to be obsolete here soon, and we're going to be flying above it. And I don't mean, like Star Wars, but like actual drone taxis are here, right? Yeah. And then up in Northern California, where they just leased a fourth worst traffic in the world. I don't know how they measured that, but there's a lot of people, all of that is going to start changing for sure. The person in the Midwest who doesn't understand that, maybe they work as a paralegal, and what they don't get is that paralegals, the time is coming to an end where paralegals are going to be all humans. There's going to be a lot that's going to be automated. How do those folks prepare? How do they get into the place where they're being disrupted, and it's really hard for the disrupted to understand that and move away? I mean, their security is in their lifelong job at the firm that they work at. How do those folks deal with that? What do you guys think?
I think primarily the realization has to be that you're a citizen of the world rather than a citizen of any particular country or geography. Mm-hmm. And so things like SenSay really bring that to the forefront, that you're part of this network that cuts across all these boundaries and all these labels of what a person's profession was, where they're from, what their alliance is. It doesn't really matter. You're part of these tribes, and then we have this engine that gets you to your fellow tribe members. They might be on the other side of the world. And as Crystal said, we've been promised that for a long time now with this connectivity, but it's time to step it up beyond sharing photos with our friends to really helping people belong globally and meaningfully.
Yeah. Right. So it's almost like giving people a sense of purpose by actually helping the other members of the community. And I love that you said that, we're all citizens of the world. And so it seems like SenSay is really facilitating that for, people to fulfill on that.
I think this is a huge opportunity for people to think about, what is it that I like to do? Mm-hmm. And this is a really big, intimidating concept for a lot of people. Just think about it. What do you like to do? That's what SenSay asked you. What are you the best at out of everyone you know? What do you love? And if you really are honest with yourself, maybe you love cooking. Maybe you love knitting sweaters. You can love a lot of different things. And we have now, for the first time ever, the opportunity for every single one of those passions to be able to become a micro job. So there are websites that you can hook up with a group that wants to have a dinner party, and you can cook for 10 people. So you make your own job, you make your own schedule, and you make your own sort of gigs around that. And if people become comfortable with unstable work that happens infrequently or whenever you want it, it's up to you how much you work, where you work, when you work, you can get really creative, and literally every single thing that is a passion can become a job. So that's where Etsy comes into play. Maybe your sweaters are on Etsy and you're cooking for a family over the weekend. You continue to find other things. You want to have a Tesla, so you are the one that becomes responsible for the lease, and then you put it on Turo and you let people rent it on the weekends, and then during the week you drive it as a luxury vehicle on Uber. And there's so many possibilities. So I think having that kind of access, this is where all of the services that are starting to be built that we have in California, and we have through the tech belt, New York and all of the other forward-thinking cities, this is where those services are going to open up. And I believe that the tech companies that are building those things will become really prevalent in areas that weren't using them before. People think that it's beyond their ability to hire, a personal chef. And so now you're going to see people understanding that you're really just bringing in a person who's like your family member, and you're paying them a little bit, and this is how the economy is going to shift. And I think that's where people just have to have an entrepreneurial mindset and an entrepreneurial spirit around it. And the core of it is, what am I good at? What do I like to do?
And also, what can you get paid for, and what does society want you to do? So the Japanese have this concept of ikigai, and there's kind of like 4 concentric circles of those things. What am I passionate about? What am I good at? what can I get paid for, and what does society need me to do? And eventually there's like this golden existence in the middle of those circles, and that's your purpose. We have a lot of talk these days about basic income, and
Right.
I personally feel that basic income has to come with basic purpose. And so these types of things will have to be part of a person's identity.
Right. Do you guys think that basic income is a reality that's going to happen with all the automation that's coming our way?
It's something that in some fashion I feel people will have to have value. So Bill Gates wanted to tax any robot laborers that replace a human, and in the same fashion that humans get taxed. So we get paychecks. The robots won't get a paycheck. The company will buy the robot, and he thinks that as a replacement, it should get taxed. And another concept is that the human who is replaced should earn some amount of money that the robot would have been getting paid, because the company is saving a paycheck. The company is
Right.
saving a salary. So there's a concept that I think works in that you have a bit of equity in the job you had, and maybe you teach the robot what your skills were and you help to train it or you help to maintain it, somehow providing value to the company. I think if we were to do a basic income around that, it would be a lot more useful. If we were just to give everyone a paycheck for the sake of a paycheck, I think we're going to lose the purpose-driven nature of life, and that's the core thing. Without that purpose, it'll be just a bunch of people, getting paid.
And in the same interview where he made that bold statement, he goes on to actually talk about what we need people to do. He talks about caregiving jobs and people that have a high empathy jobs. And I think that really shows that it's a yin and a yang. Your income is going to come in somehow that's frictionless, but it has to be balanced by purpose. Could be as simple as, hey, we need you to call these 5 people in an old age home every day and just have a conversation with them about how they're doing in life. Could be something as simple as that. We don't really know how it's going to unfold, but I think it's going to be better.
Yeah, it's just such a different way of thinking than what we're accustomed to today, in terms of, everything that you guys are talking about is really idealistic and utopian almost. And, we're still, stuck thinking about how, getting that job and working the 9 to 5. So it's a really interesting topic to consider and to ponder on what the future will be like for us, and even for our kids.
Well, I think the core thing we have to ask ourselves is, why do we have the job? Like, why do we need the job?
Right.
So you need the job so that you can pay for the house, and you can pay for the car, and you can pay for your payments, and you can pay for your credit cards because you buy stuff and you want to pay for the stuff, and you have to continue to have the job to pay for this stuff. And eventually, the very loans that you're paying back are the loans that are owned by the capitalists that own the companies. And, you're working this sort of continuous cycle. So what if you got rid of all of that stuff and you had no ownership and you had no house to pay for, and instead you were on a subscription model where you could bounce around from place to place? Now you have access to a house in LA and, one in Austin and one in Bali in the rice paddy. So we have to think about those things. Ownership is what is tying us down. I was just at the Decentralized conference, and John McAfee was giving his keynote discussion, and he said, when you own something, you don't own it, it owns you. So every single thing that you buy, own, lease, it owns you. And you then become a slave to this, whatever it is, item. So I think now we really have to think about that. How much do we really need? And is this regular 9 to 5 job just facilitating, that debt or that loan that we have to be paid? So I think it is a much different way of thinking, but it's a much happier way of living.
Absolutely.
How does one monetize being on SenSay? So let's say that I'm the greatest at wearing blue pants, and that becomes part of my tribe. How do I monetize that? Have you guys got any examples?
And how is SenSay monetizing? How are you guys making money also?
Currently, 50% of our chats are pure advice, right? And the other 50% of the chats, we've measured some tangible, commerceable opportunity. Now, currently, we haven't turned on the paywall for SenSay, so our focus is really growing a vibrant and thriving community. But we do measure certain opportunities that are exchanged between the participants in chat. We see conversation as a means for commerce. So eventually we'll monetize through conversational commerce. We have another story in our Awesome Human blogs of an individual who sits on SenSay In fact, he takes his phone even when he tries to step away because he gets gigs as a software developer. So there are real leads and opportunities in there. There are also mentions of products. So around the holidays, there were a lot of gifting senseis recommending things to one another, dropping links to products in the stream. And then for the casual advice, we're going to, currently we have a notion of gratitude as expressed in SenSay coins, but eventually those will have a much more tangible values. Assets in the chat stream through conversational commerce and opportunities and leads.
Yeah, I think all great platforms that provide something that many people use eventually monetize. The core for us is to avoid advertising. So when you have a huge community, your Facebook, your Snapchat, your Instagram, the only way they could find to monetize was through advertising because it's basically a broadcast medium. It's broadcasted, it's content. There's really, if you asked every single Facebook, member, would they pay $5? They might do it just to keep the service on, but advertising yields more money. So for us, it's really deeply important to keep true to our ethos and connect people with genuine conversations, genuine people that would be useful and helpful to them. And we find the monetization coming after. So we really do want to lean into a transactional model. We want to lean into referrals when people are giving each other coupon codes for Uber or other services. We'll find a way to monetize through that. So it's challenging, and it is something that we're working on now. But for the moment, we really want to build a big, vibrant community, as Ariel said, and so users on SenSay right now have SenSay coins, essentially a points system for gratitude.
And I think, Sandra, you said a key word earlier in the conversation, which is intent. Any opportunity really depends on user intent, and SenSay is exceptionally good at capturing that intent, specifically when a user is at the bottom of a certain intent funnel, whether it's for purchase or they're ready for some kind of experience or they're experiencing a life event. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that advertisers would die for.
Right.
Except that both Crystal and I have spent some time working in marketing and advertising. I have 3 patents in personalized video ads, but I'm never going back there again because, like Crystal said, the world has moved from a broadcast medium to a personal stream. So we wanted to build something that was highly valuable in a pull mode rather than a push mode. So one big success that the platform has had is it's trained this behavior that we're here for you when you want to pull something towards you. We're not going to, push ads at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, broadcasting was another product of the industry. As media started to develop and become one voice that could reach out to the masses, it was the same thing. So you have mass-produced products that are being broadcasted and pushed to the masses, and everyone's kind of buying the same thing and having the same dream. And now we have an idea. We believe in narrowcasting, where if you have a very small, very passionate audience who really love the product, that's much more valuable than a very, very large audience that's being pushed to, who's buying it for the wrong reasons. So this is working, we're seeing with artists and musicians, they're disbanding from major labels, and instead they're, finding that 1,000 dedicated fans will yield them the same or more results than 1 million fans that, they falsely were pushed to for whatever the reasons are through the media streams. It's a really beautiful thing to see the transition away from broadcast in the traditional sense and away from advertising, and the advertisers have no idea what to do right now. So they're going into our social channels and they're trying to get us where our eyes are the most. But this is the opportunity for us to still ask for what it is that we want. We tell Google what we want, and we get lots of ads, and then we get a lot of sites that have used SEO tactics to get to the top of the results, and it still is very irrelevant a lot of the time. So this is where we want to just connect people at that genuine level. You want something, someone else can help you. Let's get you directly there, and let's just cut through all the bullshit and not include that in the middle portion.
And also, experiences are the new products. There's no better way to productize an experience than through a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a trust that's extended through storytelling and exchange of conversation. There's a number, and I'm just going to make it up because I can't recall it specifically, but basically people say they trust, say, 40% of people. But of the people they know, they trust 80% of them. It's like an 80-20 kind of thing. But so obviously there's a breakdown in that reality, in that if you trust 80% of the people you know, you just need to know more people to have more trust in your life potentially. They just, they're unfamiliar, so they just put them in the "you're not trustworthy" box.
It's funny, trust and friendship. I read a quote today. I think it was C.S. Lewis that said, paraphrasing, the basis of friendship is asking someone, and then your response is, "Oh, you do that too? I thought I was the only one." That's really the shared life experience, and that commonality of humanity, we believe is the basis of trust, and we can actually measure that connection and conversation in a very different way than friendship. To your point about trusting 80% of your friends, if we look at our friends on our social graph, and let's extend it to both personal friends and professional friends. Well, personal connections, half of them we really didn't have a choice in the matter of making friends with them. We either went to school with them,
sure,
or they're related to us, or they married our cousin. So yeah, they checked the friends box. But now we have this really unique opportunity of finding and discovering people that we would connect to on different facets of our personality.
Yeah. They say that, strangers are just friends you haven't met yet.
Sure. Yeah.
And that everyone starts off as strangers. We meet people over mutual interests. Typically, we start with the very broad one, which is, hey, we both speak English. Great. You're out in the middle of another country, and that's a really great connector. Okay, we're like each other. Where are you from? Oh, you're from LA too. Oh my God, we're so like each other. You're instantly connected over mutual interests or what we consider to be a tribe. When you find someone who is part of your tribe, you inherently trust them. And you trust them because you trust other tribe members. And, the basis is we all assume that we're good humans and we trust each other at the beginning, and that tribe connection is the thing that keeps us close. So if we can make sure that we have a world of good humans, and we consider on SenSay everyone to be an awesome human, and we're good to each other, then that trust will inherently be linked just from getting along on a common interest.
There's an element that I'm curious in how you guys see it. Like we're talking a lot about emotional intelligence and IQ, but CQ, cultural intelligence, is really important in all of this. And a lot of lack of trust is let's say undeveloped skills in cultural interaction. We're from the same tribe because we share a very common culture. You go somewhere else, you go to Hungary, it's going to be a completely different experience, and stuff's going to set you off your center. And so you might have a big trust bank in your back pocket, but you're not going to just start giving out trust because you don't know what's going on. How do we deal with that? How do bots deal with CQ? Because that's a very challenging thing. And it's not, I'm going to tell you right now, as a guy's done a lot of cross-cultural stuff, it's not handshakes. It's not how you eat your food. It's not how you go to the bathroom. It's the other things. It's being able to use those things to your advantage and leverage them. What are you guys' thoughts on crossing culture and bots and what's coming?
Oh, well, bots as a starter, I think already, so chatbots are the number one way that people are getting exposed to bots. Historically, bots have always been around, and they've always been on the internet. Usually they do malicious things and automated things and repetitive tasks, and Twitter is now, some percentage full of bots. You're mostly talking to a bot or getting replied to by a bot. Now chatbots are the number one way that people are getting exposed to them, and they're learning really quickly that they are very lacking in ability to have a real conversation. So even if you have AI, there's the oldest one I think is 18 years old called Mitsuku, and even Mitsuku's AI is still going to fail you on a real conversation by the fifth exchange.
Sure.
I think that there is little trust that a human has for a bot. They usually try to break them. Most of the second or third exchange with them, they're lobbing something else.
My first response is, "Hello, robot." I don't even care if it's a person or not, and they always come back, "I'm not a robot." Like, yeah whatever. Yeah. I don't believe you still.
It's kind of funny to us that all of our brightest peers in technology have rushed down the path of trying to build these synthetic intelligences, and at the total ignoring of all these wonderful humans out there. I feel like eventually there are going to be bots that very successfully pass the Turing test. You would absolutely not know that you're talking to a robot. That's just a given. Given the logarithmic scale of progress that we've seen.
Sure.
Right.
That's going to be, but that bot won't actually be able to tell me experientially. They haven't actually been there, right? I think it's like, there's like a scene with Matt Damon and Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. There's a notion of like book knowledge. You can quote me things, but you don't really know what it's like to fall in love, or you don't really know what it's like to be vulnerable or experience something. So I think there's a similarity of that. So we're really betting on the humans and the human experience. Now that's it. There's some fantastic bots. Like I have a calendaring bot, and she does a fantastic job. In fact, yesterday somebody actually hit on her in an email thread. She said, he said, looking forward to seeing you at drinks, and I hope you come too, Clara.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Clara is that it's at least 50% human powered right now, and likely more. And that's the thing is all of our interactions are training up the AI, so it will be smarter in the future. And right now we're proving that the human element is still very important, because Clara the bot wouldn't know how to reply to this person in a polite manner. So they're injecting the human in the inside. We believe that the future of intelligence is not artificial; it's human, and so it's important for us to augment intelligence rather than think that we're going to replace it. And I think that's where the companies that come out, doing this are going to win, where we're uplifting humans and enhancing them. And so, I like to take AI and flip it around and call it IA, and it's intelligence amplification. And so for us, building a platform that helps to put your knowledge and life experience out in a way where you can benefit, the other person can benefit, and you learn more and more quickly. That's the big goal.
One of the big rubs has always been we have access to all the information now, all of it, but we're not any wiser. And you're right. If we can amplify our intelligence and focus more on the wisdom part, it's great to have it's great that Matt Damon's character knew about Howard Zinn. That's cute. But is he any wiser? No, he's not. That's what Robin Williams' point was. It's like, you don't even know how to fall in love because you haven't dealt with this basic thing. So I'm excited about those aspects of it and trying to figure out how to get wiser, be more reflective, be less self-focused, and part of this bigger world that we're kind of talking about. The other thing I know is that when we look back, we can see the path clearly to where, like, there used to be photomats out in front of the mall, where they would not even inside, and way before double prints. And then it was digital photos, and they took forever, and everybody was freaked out that you could print stuff on. And now it's this natural path that no one ever saw coming. It's such a different thing where everybody's pictures are all over the place, and everybody wants to be in pictures now. So I can't wait to see what 20 years from now looks like and how different things are, because there are bots and they are getting better. Yeah. How terrible were fact pages back in the 90s? You're like, you want these are your frequently asked questions? Because I have a very basic question and you've not addressed it, so all that stuff is getting way better. I am excited about that.
Oh yeah.
We actually, at some point, there will be a bot that has your life experience and your knowledge, but we at SenSay believe that you have a right to own that entity and a right to self-determination through that. So our goal, like even if we take all this data, the logical question is, in the future, what do you do with it? Do you replace the humans? Do we build a crystal bot? Maybe we do, but we want Crystal to be in control of the crystal bot. And maybe while she goes to sleep, Crystal bot has 100 conversations with people and brings Crystal some opportunities in the morning. That's kind of our vision for this.
Sure.
Very cool. How
do we get a hold of you guys on social? How do we download SenSay? Let's go through all those things.
Yeah. So SenSay is spelled SenSay. So think of conversation. And a sensei is literally someone who's been there before. So that is, we believe everyone is a sensei, and it's really easy to connect. So you can use Facebook Messenger or Kik. We have a lot of different messengers. If you go to the website, it's the easiest because you can just click and connect, SenSay.it, Sensay it. And if you want to go directly into the messengers in Facebook Messenger, search for SenSay Bot, You'll connect to SenSay Bot just like you connect to a friend. So when you start chatting with SenSay, it'll appear in your contact list. You can also text message. We have a short code for the US, which is 636363. So SMS, same thing. We learned really early that everyone uses a messenger. The most ubiquitous of all of those is text. So SenSay is direct in text. There's nothing to download. So there is no app. We're not on any app store. SenSay is literally just a contact, just like any friend, just like any human in any of your messengers.
Very cool.
Yeah, super cool. I'm gonna be doing it soon.
Using it.
You can hit us on Twitter too at SenSay, and either a bot or a human will get back to you. I won't tell you which one.
Fair enough.
Wonderful.
We believe in the humans.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on Pop in the Bubble. Sandra, anything else to close out?
No. This has been a great conversation. I'm super excited to check out SenSay and have it be part of my everyday life and responding to my requests and needs.
Thank you so much.